Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right.
Everybody's wearing the tight pants today.
Got my tight pants on.
I was talking about my time.
People, this is a positive podcast. We try to keep it positive here. That's why anytime we say anything negative about this film, or any film really, you're going to hear this sound. And we're going to have to drink because this is a drinking game.
Yes, it is. So pour yourselves a glass, or as they say in my country, crack a tinny.
Crack a tinny.
And let's. It's a tinny. It's a tinny with an N. Just to clarify.
What would they call the gigantic liter stein that you used to have?
A stein.
A Steiny?
A stein,
We have culture.
Yeah.
We have culture. Come on.
Culture. Yeah, sure. I just saw a kangaroo that looked like it was working out in your cultured country. So cool.
Oh yeah, that's a wallaroo. Don't follow him into the water.
Jesus Christ!
God.
All right, people, we're talking about the last night in
That's
Soho
not
here.
enough.
If you're new to the podcast, we try to keep it spoiler free for about 10 minutes in case you haven't heard it, or in case your friends haven't heard it and you want to recommend this here podcast. So spoiler free for 10 minutes. I don't even really know how you spoil this film.
I was gonna say, how the fuck are we gonna talk about this without spoiling anything?
Oh yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. That's what I meant. But
pretty
anyway,
clear,
we'll try to at least do some initial takeaways
That's what
so
you
you can
meant.
decide if you want to watch it or not. But before we get too deep into this, let's go ahead and shout our people out. John.
We got a beer sponsor. His name is Carlos Barroza. You can follow him on Instagram if you so choose. The handle is Cbarroza Bar 2019. That is CBARROZOBAR 2019. And if you're digging this music, it's on every single episode. You heard it here. It's provided by the artist Dasein. That's Dasein, Dasein. If you're digging it, head on over to SoundCloud.com/Dasein-artist, and you can download all that music for free. All right, you guys, this is one of those episodes. Why do I always feel like we get more excited, perhaps the most excited, to talk about the films that Dave has been highly anticipating for years and years, just because we've been hearing so much about them. We are all big Edgar Wright fans. This is The Last Night in Soho. Is it inappropriate to first let me turn my fucking AC off?
Was that an AC? I thought a plane was landing.
Wow. Yeah.
No, sorry. I
Like,
do
is
live in the
Harrison
flight path
Ford
of,
landing in your yard again? Or-
Get off my plane. I think we should throw back just for a second, because we all had so much fun at the very beginning of the Corona franchise face-off. Don't know if you folks heard it. If you haven't, I recommend
Yeah, go
going
back
back
and
to
have a
last
listen to
summer
that.
and giving them a listen. They're really fun. The first
I
round.
got told to go fuck myself more than in any other time in my life during that franchise face-off.
Yeah, yeah.
And don't you fucking forget it. Dave,
I told
fuck
you you're out of
you.
your
Go fuck
fucking
yourself.
mind all the time. It's so funny. Yeah.
The first round, though, guys, help me remember. It was The Lord of the Rings, which eventually
Was our
took
one
our
seed.
franchise face-off. I still think you should listen to it and
Yeah,
see
we
if
had
you
some
agree with us.
category fraud with them, but sure.
But it was up against a blast of a trilogy that all three of us had so much fun watching. The Cornetto trilogy, Edgar Wright's trilogy. Dave, count them all for us. Hot Fuzz
Hot
No,
Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead,
Shaun of the Dead
and
was-
World's End.
and The World Ends. Yeah, at World's End? No, that's
World's
Pirates.
End.
The world's
The
end.
World's End. So anyway, we all had a really fun time talking about those. Scott Pilgrim is one of Dave's favorite movies. I got
Number
to
one,
watch it
actually.
with him in person. There you go. Number one. I think you and I watched it together. That was my first watch when we all used to live together. I fucking love that movie now as well. This guy's a genius. So nonetheless, all of us have been really, really psyched about this movie. It did not let me down, but Jeff, why don't you go ahead and set it up, and we'll get the fuck into this convo.
I want to go ahead and apologize to anybody who just listened to John's rant on 1.5 times in case their podcast feed was going off, because you actually heard that at 10 times. John, I've never heard you so fucking giddy at the top of these fucking I've
Oh
never
man,
heard
I'm
this
just
before.
so pumped, dude.
You are right, though. Yeah, the Cornetto trilogy, we put at 16. And I don't know about you guys, but I had a feeling Lord of the Rings was going to advance. So I didn't watch Lord of the Rings. I only watched the 3 Cornetto trilogy movies, which was actually technically my first COVID, binge, I guess, in a way. I know there are 3 different
me
movies, but we did it literally May. No, I was still. I remember where I was.
It was March.
It was March. It was.
We got
fucking
3 weeks
yeah,
in to doing
early.
a cinema podcast before they closed
Yeah.
cinemas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Half the country didn't know that COVID was what it was. We were still calling it the coronavirus, and
I was still in New York.
yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
You're right. It was totally still March. Jesus Christ. Anyway, go listen to that. It was really fun. While the world was, lighting on fire around us. Let's set up Last Night in Soho. We've been looking forward to this for a long time. This came out on Halloween weekend here in the United States, and I think a lot of other places around the world. It did not do particularly well at the box office here in the United States, but that's okay. The reviews are pretty damn good.
Until we drop this episode. And get the whole fucking world.
It was up against week 2 of Dune too, really. So,
Week 2 of Dune came back.
And next weekend is Eternals. Yes. So it's in a tough spot.
Yeah.
It's in a tough spot.
And Halloween Kills came out a couple weeks ago, and even though it is getting trashed by every critic,
it made so much money though.
It's called Halloween.
Matt and Mark didn't
Halloween
like it.
Kills. Oh, they fucking hated it.
Matt and Mark.
I know.
Shout out to Matt and Mark Movie Show. We love you guys.
That's our weekly quota for them until they ask us to come back on their show.
Have us back.
Maybe if Matt stops pooping his pants. That's true. Go give them a listen.
Outed.
That's true. He outed himself. So here we are. We're talking about Last Night in Soho. It was spooky, ghosty. The trailer was kind of bizarre. And it stars two of the biggest young actresses on the planet right now. Anya Taylor-Joy, who I think I just saw her on Colbert, where Colbert said, he was trying to dance around it, but he was like, "You've had the best 18 months out of everybody." To which I said, maybe not Elon Musk, but maybe most other people. But she had... Anya Taylor-Joy had Emma. She had Queen's Gambit. She has this, and I'm sure there's something else that I'm missing in there, but just totally had a great quarantine. So, fuck, I can't remember what else she did. And Thomasin McKenzie, who was just an old, she's in Jojo Rabbit.
Emma came out right at the beginning.
Emma was first, and then
shit.
I forget what
The
else.
New Mutants.
New Mutants, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, she had a great COVID, if you're allowed to say that. And then Thomasin McKenzie, who again was in Old and Jojo
Without
Rabbit
a Trace.
and
Jojo Rabbit.
Without a Trace, yeah, fuck. So
Is it
good.
Without
so
or
good.
Leave No Trace?
I think it's
Whatever.
Leave. I think it's Leave No Trace.
Leave
So
No
anyway,
Trace, I think. Yeah.
huge. Throw in Matt Smith, we know from Doctor Who fame and other things. The Crown. Throw in Olenna Tyrell. What the hell's the grandma's name? Grandma Tyrell.
Diana Rigg.
Diana Rigg. Yeah, Diana Rigg is in this, of course. And then lots of cool shout outs. So this is Edgar
Terrence
Wright.
Stamp.
Written and directed.
Terrence Stamp.
Man. Oh man. All right, let's move on with the fucking setup of this movie so we can get into it. So here is the IMDb short description of this film. An aspiring fashion designer is mysteriously able to enter the 1960s, where she encounters a dazzling wannabe singer. But the glamour is not all it appears to be, and the dreams of the past still fucking... Where is it? Yeah.
Still fucking...
But the... God damn it.
Oh, no.
I had to click see more. But the glamour is not all it appears to be. God, come on. They heard it.
Sorry.
But the glamour is not all it appears to be, and the dreams of the past start to crack and splinter into something darker. Happy Halloween.
I should point out just quickly as well that despite that extremely professional setup that we just did, this is our 100th episode.
Oh my god!
Oh my god, you guys!
100 episodes. Yeah.
You guys! Yeah.
Oh my god!
Cheers, motherfuckers! Cheers! We fucking did 100 of these things. Are you crazy? Come on, that's
100th
good. Everybody,
episode.
Pause, drink. You're welcome. That's what we're gonna do for you.
Jesus Christ!
My
the
brother-
timing of this record moved around a little bit, and that's all I was thinking about. I totally yeah.
Episode 100. So
My brother re-listened to a lot of these episodes recently, and he's a huge fan. I've had several people reach out to me recently. I don't know if they knew about the 100 coming up, but I think people are. We got something good here, you guys, and we're so thankful everybody's listening. Let's keep it going, man. This is so much fun.
Jeff, you had a question for me.
Yeah, what'd you think of the movie?
What are the? Oh, that's right. There's a movie.
God, we're talking about a movie.
I had went in cold, basically. I'd seen one trailer, and I was like, that's it. I want to know nothing else about this. And Edgar himself on Twitter is like, go in cold if you can. And also don't ruin it, which later on we're probably gonna. But
Also, please go.
yes, please go. This is a work of art.
Ooh.
Like, it is He's just opened his imagination and poured it into a film canister. It's also like a really good love story. Like everyone's doing nostalgic like love letters this year in film. Like we had In the Heights, and now we've got this for Soho because he actually lives like just around the corner, just outside of Soho, and works there a lot. So it's like it's London beautiful, but also London hideous. Because he almost makes London the villain of the story at the beginning of it. But I love this. I love everything about it. The
Specifically
use of
60s London, right?
yeah. Well, not even that.
Yeah.
Modern day London is set up as a villain, like in the first 10 minutes of the story, because she has the little incident in the taxi.
They do have those jabs all the
That's
time.
true.
Like London's a dangerous place. Like,
But I think this is what I remember a couple of weeks ago we did Suspiria, and I think this is what I wanted from Suspiria, and it delivered. It really delivered. This is my butt's still clenched from at least one of the jump scares.
all right, I'm just gonna go ahead and do that just for the phrasing of that for all of our listeners there.
Oh, come on, Dave. My buzzer square isn't going away, but you know what? Drink twice. Once for me too, because that was good.
Yeah. So
Maybe after the
basically,
spoiler section, you can tell us. You can tell us
Yeah,
which
I'll go into more
moment
details.
got you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Jeff, what'd you think, dude? No,
Okay,
I already
so-
said it.
So I did not take any notes in the theater this week after you guys roasted me last week.
Yeah, good moviegoer.
I also should say that I got to this movie 28 minutes late because my city bike was jammed at the station. All the bikes were jammed. I was like, fuck! And I finally shook one free. And then there were Halloween parades everywhere because I saw it on Halloween. And I'm riding. I did see Tony Danza singing New York, New York on the street on Columbus Avenue, and and all those motherfuckers watching Tony Danza sing this song were in my goddamn bike lane. So I was like rushing to get to this movie. He was great, by the way. He
Just to
sounded
clarify,
great.
none of this happens in the movie. This happened to
just
Jeff.
to clarify.
Yeah.
What happened to this movie? Why is Tony Danza in Soho, London? Anyway, I get there 28 minutes and it still hadn't started yet. God damn it!
Oh
these
yeah, you
fucking-
got 30 minutes
I know,
of
dude.
program before. Also,
Ridiculous,
I
dude.
just want to take a
Ridiculous.
little bit of of a shot at AMC. Like I know I go and see a lot of my films at AMC, but I've been going to AMC Times Square for a while. Now AMC Times Square, you have a bathroom on each floor. Each bathroom has 2 urinals. You have 26 fucking theaters. Do the math.
Oh my God, shade. Yeah, that's ratchet, and you know that place just like prints money because the place is packed all the time. I went to Sony Digital in Lincoln Square. It was my first Sony Digital screening post COVID. Sorry, Dave, for all the times you recommended for me to go
Dolby
there.
Digital.
Dolby, yeah, whatever I'm saying. Yeah, the beer is like right about to hit
Dolby
me. So
Atmos.
Yeah, so Sony's lawyers will be in touch.
Sony's lawyers will be in touch. Thank you for the clarification.
Jeff, what did you think of that format, dude? What did you think of the sound? Was it incredible?
Well, the sound. So at first, I remember thinking early on, I was like, everything's kind of washed out. There was one part where I was like, I couldn't even see her face very well, and everything was very like tan and kind of gray, and I was like, all right, maybe it's 60s. Like I don't know. It just seemed a little awash. It didn't seem that vibrant. The first time she goes into that little dream sequence, which is alluded to in the trailer, so it's not much of a spoiler, and that fucking city comes alive, and it's at night, and so all of the neon lights are just popping and everything. I swear to you, there was a period of time, maybe an hour after that, where somebody like coughed next to me. And I know this sounds crazy because when I'm in a movie theater, like with Dune, I was really happy to be in a packed theater with people that were very excited to be there. It was very palpable that people were there. In this movie, when that person
like,
coughed, no, I forgot that I was in a movie theater with other people. Like that's what
man.
that's what this movie did. I mean that 100% seriously. I literally was like, oh my God, I forgot there were other people here. Like I felt like this was all just happening to me. And
Yeah,
so
I took my pants off and everything, and
Wow.
so yeah.
I immediately I just wiped my butt. Yeah, no, it was really that kind of experience where it was very captivating, and I was surprisingly moved. I like genuinely was feeling like I like literally checked my eyes for a second. I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like it was very scary. I had the jump scares, a couple of them, but it really was that kind of experience for me. It was awesome. John?
Yeah, I'm gonna just echo what you guys are saying. I think Edgar Wright he Edgar Wrighted all over us, you guys. I mean, this was so imaginative. It was
That's
Edgar
good
Wright.
terminology.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, our words, people, our words.
It was his horror movie. I mean, it was his it was so disturbing too. I guess I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting it to be a little bit more fun just because it's him. And I don't mean that in a comedic way. I wasn't expecting comedy. I knew he was going to, just for a little bit of reading I had done in the trailer, it looked like he was going to try to sincerely freak us out. But I underestimated his ability to disturb me. There was dread in this movie. Without giving away too much of what happens, I don't think I'm going to give away any spoilers here. The allusions to all of the experiences of this young woman who starts to have sex with men for money and becomes a prostitute. The Johns, the way they are, not hating myself there, but that is what they're called, right? The way he depicts her interpretation and her perception and her experience of all these men is terrifying. It's so disturbing. It gave me so much anxiety. I wasn't expecting the anxiety that I had in the movie theater even. Sometimes you feel a little safer in a movie theater. Last time I felt like that was Uncut Gems. I was sitting in the theater. I walked out immediately after that movie was over. It was so good, but I just had to take a shower in regular reality and get away from it. This one bothered me in a really great way, and it scared me. And it was still all the wonderful visuals and all the things you're looking for from an Edgar Wright movie. So I'm really disappointed that it's not doing well in the theater. I love Dune. We fucking praised the hell out of that. But everybody, get your ass in gear and go see this movie.
I mean, this is probably going to do what an Edgar Wright film.
It was so wonderful.
It's probably going to do what an Edgar Wright film normally does, which is be very popular on DVD and streaming. People are going to buy.
It's just
people are going to buy the 4K HDR of this. Definitely,
they are. This was a $43 million budget. He usually works under 60. I think the biggest one he had was Baby Driver. Maybe Scott Pilgrim was also around there. So yeah, he's totally going to cult it up. He has a big following. We're going to buy, these copies or whatever when they come out on, digital release or DVD or whatever. But what an experience for the movie theater. I wish I had seen Scott Pilgrim in the movie theater. I didn't.
Same.
This one was
I just went back
immersive.
and saw that. Because the first time I saw it wasn't in a theater. Right. I saw it on Blu-ray, and then I finally, this year, it was to celebrate the cinema's reopening, he re-released it for its anniversary in Dolby Cinema and remixed it for Dolby. And Scott Pilgrim, and I kind of knew it was coming going in to this, because Scott Pilgrim had the best band mix I've ever heard in a film.
Oh yeah,
ever. And I was never not going to Dolby Cinema for this, because he pays a lot of attention.
Let me
to
ask you
his
guys
sound mix.
Let's get into the story though, because Edgar Wright and Christy Wilson.
Should we send people away, or do you want to keep it? Because I mean, we've all praised the movie.
Yeah, we're gonna talk details. So let's send people on their way.
People on their way. And it would be good for a rewatch, but then again, I don't think you need it. There's one moment that I literally am stuck on where I thought she turned the switch up to turn the lights out. And little things like that where I'm was that Edgar Wright detailing? So I'm very curious for the rewatch, but I think we can all just say, if you haven't seen this movie, go see it.
That's a British thing. Dude, not
opposite.
even kidding. It took me so long to get used to the lights here.
Wait, are you serious?
Yes.
Why would the lights go down for them to come up?
No, it's a switch. So you flick the switch to turn the light on, you flick it back up, turn it off.
I know. Go for it, Jeff. Go there.
Yeah.
Go in. Go there.
That's it's been my entire life,
America,
and then I came
what
here and yeah.
Did my acid just hit? What are you guys talking about?
Isn't that crazy? They drive on the wrong side. Their light switches do the wrong thing. I know. I don't want to talk about it.
Come on, dude. The light switches are the only things not trying to fucking kill us. Come on.
All right.
You guys, here's a fun little anecdote. Fun little anecdote before I forget, just to throw it in there before we get deeper into this. And then, listeners, you can go watch this movie and then come back. A couple years ago, I was at a film festival with one of the films that we made, and it was in London. It was 2018. I was standing outside of the Toucan pub,
yes,
drinking a Guinness, and Edgar Wright walked by. I'm not kidding. Do you remember me telling y'all when I saw Edgar Wright? Yeah. Jack, my brother-in-law, and I were sitting there sipping some Guinness. I was smoking a little bit, and he was like, "Dude, look, it's Edgar Wright." And we had just been talking about how he like lived around there, and Edgar Wright was just strolling by with his buddy.
There's been
right
a
in
couple
front of
of
the toucan where this whole fucking movie takes place. It was pretty cool.
been a couple of funny stories because like a lot of this stuff was done practically with the like going back to 60s London, because let's face it, the facade hasn't really changed much over there. But Matt Smith, apparently they kept having problems with him running into his mates coming out of pubs when they were filming at 3 a.m. And of course, it was either his mates or fans. One or the other would come up to him to talk to him because, you know, he's played what, Prince Albert, I think, and Doctor Who. And
Not
you
Prince-
may as well
Prince
be
Philip.
Prince Philip. Sorry, yeah, Philip.
Philip, no,
Yeah.
it's what's up?
Yeah, Prince Albert's a weird piercing.
Yeah.
He does play a lot of dicks. All right, moving on. So now that we're in the nitty gritty,
All right, get out of here, people. If you haven't seen this movie, go see
Yeah,
it.
spoilers are
I do think it was
upcoming.
interesting. My favorite disturbing part about this, I said, like, yeah, the way he depicted those guys, but it was more big picture than that. I'm going to push back a little bit against what you said earlier, Jeff, about the how London in general was the culprit. I know what you mean. I'm not disagreeing with it entirely, but I thought
I say
the
that?
really scary
I'll
part
do
for me, yeah, was that, you know, I was saying, oh, I think it was just 60s London. You were saying, well, the cab driver at the beginning, the cab
No, I
driver
said
was
that.
freaky. Oh, yeah, you said that. Sorry.
No, they kept saying it. Thomasin McKenzie kept saying, like, London's dangerous. London's scary. It's
London is dangerous, and I realized that this place happens here, but this character has an obsession, and we can talk about whether or not this is super clear in the way they handled it, a potential for schizophrenia or some kind of mental psychosis that allows her to have intense visions. She sees her mother, who has passed away throughout this entire movie, at the beginning and the end mostly. But anyway, my favorite part about this, which scared me the most, was how he flipped our nostalgia for the past. An iconic time period where Austin Powers said, yeah, baby. Yeah. He turned that into one of the most terrifying backdrops I've ever seen.
Yeah, he pulled the curtain back on Swinging London.
He really did. And it made me feel like, we are, you guys. We're three white guys sitting here talking about this. I felt a visceral fear for what I guess women until like the Me Too movement felt throughout time. Like, is
they
that
still feel it?
No, I'm not saying they don't anymore, but like that was like he was really pulling away the curtain. So let's give it up for Christy Wilson Cairns too, who co-wrote this script with him. Mm-hmm. Obviously, her perspective came into this. It was so effective. The potential for violence and manipulation and control and the subjectiveness, it was just so terrifying. I just wasn't anticipating that to be the most anxiety-ridden aspect of the storytelling. The plot itself was not less interesting to me, but the plot meant less to me than that tone. The way he established that, it got me. I'm never going to forget the way I felt when I watched that for the first time. It kind of makes me not want to watch it again. It was so effective. I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah.
Did y'all feel that? Did y'all think about that at all?
Yeah,
You
gosh.
Sure, get in there. Were you thinking more about plot?
I thought.
Or were you thinking more about
no,
that?
I thought exactly the same thing. It was like it was this whole thing about she was so excited to go to London, and then he slowly peeled back the layers and exposed her to what a horror show London was. That whole comment about, someone's died in every corner in this city.
Yeah.
And it was just, for one, London wasn't a pleasant place at all, especially for someone who, sees dead people. And then you had the introduction of all of those men and how just horrible they were.
Yeah.
And it was really good. I actually really enjoyed that aspect of the storytelling, because usually when they go with nostalgia, like we step back and it's pleasant and it's feel good, and this was not at all. Like this is a rough place. You could die here.
You're talking about in real life or in the past or both, or
I'm just talking about the AMC at Times Square.
Oh yeah.
No.
We're gonna be hearing from AMC's lawyers now.
I'm paying my A-list. They can shut up.
No, I mean, obviously the terror was there. I actually was wondering if they got into it like too quick. Would have been my take. When she gets to London, and the first night's very, very fun, and then the second night is fun, but you know, and then by the third night, it's like, oh, this is fucked. And it was kind of like, okay, wow, I guess this is not going to be Midnight in Paris, right? Like, obviously there's going to be a ghost story, but I expected a ghost story. This was more violent, which, John, to your point of it being disturbing, I think that is the right take, even though it wasn't disturbing in like the
Like David Lynch.
yeah, I guess that's a good point of view. Yeah,
It wasn't like that for you?
not as much. No, because it was quicker. It was still fast paced, and it was all happening.
Yeah,
so
It was very well paced.
it was, yeah. I mean, it was moving, and then, you know, you always had the relief of her waking up until you didn't. That was my favorite jump scare, by the way. Was the first one.
That's the one that got me.
Where she gets up and she's like, oh, and of course the sound, the stinger was just like right to the soul.
Yeah.
I want to be in the studio and they're like, does this get you or does this get you? And just people sitting there going, oh, that one was good. Oh, that one was better. Oh,
Yeah.
no, that one was too much. Like,
Test audiences have a fucking crash cart down the front ready.
yeah, that's right. And then they're in the back.
was
They're
a
like,
really good
too
moment.
much, just enough. Anyway, I'm rambling. No, I completely agree with everything you're saying, John. I really was worried that it was going to be happening too quick, and also it wasn't as funny as I thought it would be. I think it was your point before. So I was worried that the kinds of things would kind of start to drown the movie a little bit, but it was just moving. It was just, you get sucked up in it. I couldn't believe how quickly it was moving, and so no, I thought it was great.
It was. I think my only critique, and I'm not going to take full credit for this, my girlfriend said it. She said her version of it first, and then because I was kind of mocking, I feel like every time we cut back to, what's her name? She plays the lead, McKenzie.
Thomasin McKenzie.
I feel like every time we cut back to her, I didn't mind it initially, but then it kind of got like, her breath was like breathier and breathier, and she was frailer and frailer. So for the story to kind of wrap up with this young woman kind of finding some version of her strength at the end of this by overcoming whatever, I don't even know if we need to discuss it, but did she actually have schizophrenia? Yeah. Was this a haunting? What the fuck was this? I guess it doesn't really matter. So let's just toss that aside for now.
I mean, there were witnesses. I'm pretty sure it was a haunting.
I guess so, which I don't know if they nailed that perfectly for me, which kind of coincides with this. There is a time break at the end of this movie. After the whole climax, there's a time break. Fast forward, she is on her feet again. She's finished her first semester or whatever. She's got her first fashion show going on, and at the London School Institute of Fashion, and it's great. They give a little nod, of course, to she's not totally better. She still sees some of these things from The Haunting and her mother, which again, I'm not sure which is which. I don't really know. I don't know if we're supposed to care. But for a story where somebody, especially somebody struggling with some kind of illness or a haunting or whatever, for a story where someone is supposed to not overcome entirely, but learn how to manage by finding their strength and finding their own stability, I do feel like they kind of skipped that part. So it didn't bother me. It just felt like she was such a victim for the entire movie that I'm just curious what would have happened if they would have had her push against it just a little bit more before. I guess their answer was they were trying to do it entirely in the final showdown scene, which was excellent, which was really cool. I loved how they played it out. But physically, I felt like because
there was a misdirect.
There was, but I feel like they wrote her into a bit of a corner because I think they decided, I'm just guessing here, I'm totally just guessing. I think they knew what they were doing plot-wise and character-wise, and they said, she's going to do it all in this showdown. She's going to find her strength. It's going to be physical. We're going to show, not tell. Sure, I'm on board with that. But she was dosed with some kind of tranquilizer. There was something in this tea that was supposed to be knocking her out. And somehow she finds her strength. They started playing with a little bit of the physical rules there, where I'm curious if she would have found her strength a little bit earlier, or at least twinned, little bits and pieces of it.
There's a couple of things towards the end that I have a little bit of an issue with. If you look deep, why did she see the murder one way and not the real way?
I actually am curious about that too. That was definitely something.
I'm not sure what we were supposed to. Like, were we getting how?
Because we saw
the
her get murdered.
Yeah,
we saw her get murdered. So, but everything else checks out. So it's not like Dune where he doesn't understand his visions. They're all like fragments.
Yeah, this was an intentional misdirect, but I'm not sure if there was a reason for it.
Yeah, and it's not like
Yeah.
Diana Rigg has the powers for it. I agree. I don't think it was.
Yeah,
grounded in
that was the
in
only.
rules.
I walked out with that question, and I was like, why did she see that the wrong way?
Yeah. Also,
Which it takes me back to
also the
if
guys
Edgar Wright-
the
Yeah.
guys were not asking for help when they were chasing her around. So
Yeah.
at the end they were
Yeah,
like,
that was
"Oh,
weird too.
we just want your help." It's like, "Oh, what is?" I'm thinking of a famous movie where the villain. It's not like Boo Radley, but like the villain is asking for help the whole time. What is it?
Home Alone.
Yeah,
Alone. All they
yeah, he
needed to do
totally
is-
murdered those guys.
You know,
anyway.
the salt man. I mean, yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah,
a classic term.
yeah. But this
Oh
case
no,
was
I'm talking
not
about
that.
Macaulay Culkin.
This case.
He's the villain of that movie.
This case was not okay. So anyway, those two things. Okay, back to what you were saying, John, because I do think those were kind of to get us a little bit.
Yeah, I do
And
too.
He did
So-
pull them off, but
He did.
But-
Yeah, I guess if his goal again, if I was with him, or I was just sitting there and I was lucky enough
it's my
to
favorite
observe him
segment.
and Christy Wilson and Karen.
If John could both
if John was in the
compliment
room,
person because they did a good job, but also give them notes.
I just want to know. I just want to know where their head was at. This is just filmmaking stuff. I would imagine they're very intelligent individuals, and they said, "We know what we're doing. If we do this, it means this." And I think they said to themselves very consciously, "We're not going to wrap this up cleanly. We don't want people to be able to run a linear line through what she's experiencing. So therefore, it's a very loose combination of a haunting and some kind of psychosis or schizophrenia, and therefore it doesn't need to make sense." And I think once they made that decision and they started leaning into, and therefore we need to just make the audience feel like they don't understand what's happening, I do think they succeeded in that.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me in the moment that I was so confused about how it didn't line up. It did bother me a little bit in the end because I felt the director step in, or the director and the writer step in and try to wrap it up. Unlike Lynch, right? If you're going to play with these things where they start to make less and less sense rationally, you can't wrap it up. You can't try to have it, "Oh, let's justify it and let's make sense." I think by trying to do that, culminating in what you just said, Jeff, help, these men yelling help, and suddenly in that room, in that state of mind under a tranquilizer of all things, she sees clearly what happened and that she wasn't murdered in the way she thought she was. It started to make less sense to me, only because I think they wanted it to make sense. I was totally on board for it to not make sense at all, and for her to just burn this bitch's house down, and us to be like, "Wow, that was a crazy fucking mental tragedy."
What the fuck just happened?
And be poisoned and crawl out and rescue a man, and like while she was poisoned. Also,
Yeah, I mean, that was crazy, right? Yeah, go rescue him and get him. Like, how did that happen?
Well,
How
luckily-
did she crawl down 4 flights of stairs and get him out of there under a tranquilizer?
Also, she didn't rescue him. The firefighters did, but it was okay. It was a cool effect. Also,
You're right, you're right,
how
you're
much,
right, you're right.
But that was, she went down to like save him, but then she didn't have the strength. How much does Diana Rigg love poison?
Oh boy, yeah, that's not her first time.
Yeah, no.
She was magnificent.
She was incredible.
Yeah.
She was
I
right on
had
the money.
just a tiny tendril of, I don't know if she did it, but I bet that woman is somehow involved in this. But it never became super obvious to me.
No,
I
I
always
called
thought
that
she
early.
was a deflection. See, I thought she was a deflection. I was like, they're
thought
probably
she
not
was
going to
a-
go
I thought
there.
she
Are
was
they?
a
She's
deflection.
not the
When
one
she
who
was
did it.
shouting, "I'll kill you," at the kid, I was like, "There's something."
Oh
going
yeah, when
on
she was
here.
like, "Let me in."
Oh
sure,
yeah,
sure,
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I didn't think.
Yeah.
I actually didn't. I didn't think about that.
Come
on, it's Diana Rigg.
that kind of tipped it for me. So like I did call that one, but I didn't call the rest of what happened.
I will,
You
wait,
guys-
one other
you
thing. One
guys-
other thing. What did the floors start to smell?
That was good.
No,
Remember
they-
what she said? No, are you talking about the line? I did clock that one line when she showed her the room for the very first time. She said something like, "The smells will start to rise. I hope you don't mind it. The smells will start to rise."
Oh yeah,
at a
because there's
certain time of day.
something next door.
Yeah,
And-
well, she
and that's all
mentioned
you- and that's all you can-
afterwards.
She did say that. There's
Afterwards,
something
she-
you can.
yeah.
That's all you can smell.
The 85
Yeah,
corpses.
but before
are
that,
gonna
she made
start
some
to sleep
comment
in
about how
room.
the smells will start to rise. I hope you don't mind living on the top floor. And I was like, all right, there are dead people here somewhere. I just didn't know
The line
where they
read
were
of
gonna show up
the
yet.
French bistro. The way she said that line was just like,
Yeah.
wow, she had intention.
Just
behind it.
the only a true classic British actor can take their time with words that
This
way.
is someone who's
You
done.
guys,
this is someone
you
who
guys.
has done some Shakespeare for sure.
How good was the sound design?
Yeah.
The way they used the "what's your name?" Oh, it's a beautiful name. The haunting, the loops in her mind and stuff. That was crazy. There was another one that they looped really effectively. That was the man asking her something that really scared me. It was just the way he messed with sound. He always does really fun things with music. But like this was crazy.
Especially now they've given him access to Dolby. Like he's just this is someone who embraces new technology, and he's just took it and ran with it. So
Jeff, that's awesome. I haven't seen it in Dolby yet, but for anyone who doesn't understand, typical surround sound when you go into a movie theater, you can pan left or right, front and back. But with Dolby, with all these speakers in these theaters, you can literally pan to an individual or a group of speakers. So it's really cool that Jeff was saying at the beginning of this.
It used to be 5.1 or 7.1. It's now 26.1.
Yeah, and we can literally pan to individual ones if we want to. So we adjust and mix to speakers. So we can pan across a space as opposed to a space, if that makes sense.
Not only that, it does
Jeff,
positional audio as well. So like you can
exactly
almost set
to
the height
space. Of
the audio.
It's crazy. Jeff, you told me, and now you're making me want to go see it. This movie does open with like I don't know if I loved the opening scene, but just for the sake of this conversation, for the aesthetic, it opened a little bit flat for you. And like, is this a 60 thing? Did it sound like it was a little thin? Like it was just stereo sound coming from the front?
It was not until
cool.
it was not until her first stream that really, and not only did the sound come to life, I heard layers. I heard 20 layers of sounds, and there are probably more on top of that.
Well, that's awesome.
I'd like to see the timeline on this one, especially given like the sheer amount of composites they would have had to do.
Yeah.
I just want to do a quick salute and drink to the roto artists on this one, because that would have been a fucking nightmare.
Hell yeah! Cheers. I don't know how they did any of this.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Literally, Anya Taylor-Joy runs down a set of stairs. Thomasin McKenzie runs down a set of stairs in the reflection. Then, whenever she's reflected, it's the other actress, and that's a work between a cinematographer, a director, those two ladies who obviously work their asses off to mirror those reflections, because a lot of those were done practically, and also just the sheer amount of like compositing to get that some of those shots that would have had to have been done.
What good?
And Dave, let's celebrate it. And it didn't cost him $100 million like it would a normal director, right? Like this is a $43 million film. There Will Be Blood was made for more money than this movie.
and they shot
what
in a
Edgar
desert.
Wright can do.
And has no dialogue for the first 15 minutes. So
So I mean, just this man, Edgar Wright, and his team. I'm sure it's not just him, of course. What he can do with money and special effects is proof that everybody else must be doing it fucking wrong. If it costs them an extra 60, 50, 40, whatever, it's just it's where he chooses to go practical, and where he chooses to hire the right person to get that kind of job done for melding these two effects. It just proves to you that like there's a way to do it right, and he understands it. There's a way to do it right. Did you hear that? I'm buzzing myself. I'm buzzing myself.
There Will Be Blood was $25 million.
Here's the kicker, though.
Oh, thank you. I thought it was 50.
Here's the kicker.
Thank you for correcting me.
Like I can't tell what was practical and what was composite.
Right.
Because it was done so seamlessly and so flawlessly.
Right.
And that's
Jeff.
That's some serious good work.
Jeff, I can't help but be a little distracted, and I'm curious if you feel the same way, because I was team La La Land. Like, if you're not supposed to be a great singer and you're just supposed to be in a musical singing, I'm always going to be like, great, I'm glad you don't sound like the greatest singer in the world, like a lot of Broadway people might sound if you get really up close with them in a wide angle lens. But when you're a character that's supposed to be a magnificent singer, or was she not? That's what I wanted to ask you.
I thought she was great.
Her audition.
I thought it was great.
I guess I didn't think she was a great singer. So I guess I started to think...
the singers of the 60s, besides Aretha Franklin, but besides all the black singers who really were the stars.
Dude, that woman that she was replacing at the nightclub had a really good voice.
I thought you didn't like her downtown. I thought she had a good downtown.
Well,
plus it was a show.
That's why she ended up a prostitute.
It was exactly. Yeah.
That's what I was saying. See, I thought that's the direction they were going. That it was good enough for her to get into the loop, and then they turn her into a dancer that wears.
I'm going to buzz myself for even saying that too.
I thought the way.
No, but for the sake of the story, that's what I thought. I thought they were trying to say she's not the greatest singer in the world, so therefore we can exploit her.
I thought it was about the perform. Like, it wasn't about being on a record. It was about the performance, and she did it with confidence. Like, she sounded pretty good. She sounded like she could lead a show, and I thought that was Yeah, I had no problems. I thought her voice was good. You didn't like her voice?
I didn't.
I
I didn't think it was bad.
That when she appeared
It's good
later
enough
as
for
a
a
backing.
prostitute.
No,
Jesus Christ.
I thought she was good. I'll
They,
take it.
There's some-
dude, that's an honorable profession. Nobody knocked that. I thought she was good enough for me that when he put later she was put in the background as a backing dancer, I felt that.
It's the 60s, man. Go back and listen to records from the 60s. Their voices are not that great. For most of them, it's more about the authentic feel. Like you can almost picture them performing it. None of them are as good as Ariana Grande singing like 3-octave riffs and stuff like that. None of them are doing that, except for Aretha Franklin.
I don't know. Like
ones.
there's.
I'm not saying I. I'm not saying I totally felt that way.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think she's the real deal. But I did want to ask you, just as a story element, I thought they did a good job. I bet they contemplated whether or not to use her voice, because I thought her voice was just good enough to get her in the door.
I'll give you.
And
I'll
she's
give you
obviously beautiful and charismatic and all the, had the movement and everything. She had all the other things. But I thought it was just good enough so that we weren't going to say, what are they doing to this prodigy singer? It's not like Barbara Streisand walked on stage and tried to turn her into a prostitute. Yeah.
No.
I mean, they could have done something like that, and you would have been like, what the hell is happening?
That'd be a weird movie. That'd be a very
Edgar
weird
Wright's
movie.
next movie, he turns Barbara Streisand, young Barbara Streisand.
Funny girl meets.
Okay, well let's stick to the actresses then, because how they were able to rehearse together and do all of these kinds of things. I thought they did an amazing job of making the two of them both look very different, but then when they needed to, they actually looked a lot alike. And it's hard when you're a director who's getting up close to young actresses and stuff, especially nowadays. It's almost like, okay, Edgar, you're getting a little close here. But it's like they're very physically represented each other to the point where sometimes where one turned around, no matter whether they were wearing something a little frumpier, like Thomasin McKenzie's characters were a little bit more concealed, or Anya Taylor-Joy's character was a little bit more open, obviously, given the profession that she was trying to get into and the one that she ended up being in. But there were a couple times where they turned their head around and you had no idea whose face was going to be on that body, and I thought that was really an effective.
Yeah, that's cool.
But just their performances.
I just want to also say my favorite Thomasin McKenzie face is when she's in her dorm room and the roommate comes busting in with that guy and they just start banging.
And she doesn't say anything.
The look on her face, like everybody has had that college experience.
Yeah,
everybody related to that moment.
So I think Anya Taylor-Joy plays it right down. She plays it just exactly right here. So Thomasin McKenzie has because as John was talking about before, is she a schizophrenic? What's going on here? So she obviously has range. Now, if it was just a dual personality role, she was probably. I'm gonna guess, John. I'm gonna guess. You can correct me soon, but I'm gonna guess you thought she was a little too meek and fragile. But that's just my guess. She had a lot of range. She got mad. She was able to do all of those kinds of things. But I do also wonder if that, because she is just a naturally sweet, gifted, like we saw Old, where she had to play a younger character in a teenager's body, like a 7-year-old in a teenager's body.
Which completely different too.
So it worked really well. Just that, like, oh my God, I'm so vulnerable kind of thing. And same thing, Jojo Rabbit, she had a little bit more, gusto, but she was, hiding in walls.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I'm curious what you think about them. I thought it all checked out, but I think she was playing dual personality. That's why she was so meek for all of this. What do you think, John?
Flesh that out just a hair before I respond. Actually,
okay. So
say that a little bit more.
If you're Fight Club's a bad example because Edward Norton's his character had a little bit of energy to it, but Primal Fear, he had the one really really scared character, and then the other one who's the exact opposite. So if Thomasin McKenzie is playing dual personality, Anya Taylor-Joy is everything she wants to be, and she is the one who can never do any of those things because of all of the social cues that are just not clicking.
And are you faulting her for that? Is that what you're saying?
I thought it was. I actually
have...
thought it was a deliberate choice, and I think it worked out because she was still able to come alive later in the film.
Yeah, no, I am not faulting the talent or of the actor. She is clearly. Yeah, no. I mean, if I were to say anything, I would think it was a directorial choice by Edgar. I think they would have discussed whether or not, in the writing and the script, of whether or not to take her into places. Clearly, this young woman starts to experiment with trying to be more confident. She changes her hair to look more like Anya Taylor-Joy. She starts to do things very, in the first, in this beginning of the second act, basically, where she starts to experience this stuff.
Tries to become Tyler Durden.
I mean, yeah, sure. God damn it. So, I'm not even sure if I really had a problem with it. I just noticed that story wise, I kind of wanted her to see. I was curious to see what would happen if she would have gone really far with trying to seize that confidence, and if that would have been part of her dilemma, that it didn't work out. She tries to go too far with the guy, and I don't know. There were so many ways that it could have expressed itself.
To me, saying before that, I thought the plot was maybe moving too quick. That by like the third night, it's like we're off and running, and it's almost like we don't get to celebrate in that journey anymore.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe that got in the way of that transformation for the actress, where it's like she realized that she was actually, even though she had range in the movie, I'm not saying she did it, she didn't really have the time to make the switch that you would need, especially if you are playing a mental health something. You can't just do.
I do, and
I don't know. I can't flesh it out. I'm printing my rough draft.
You're totally right, Jeff. I feel like, I'm not gonna lie, there was just a moment, because I stand by what I said. I really enjoyed seeing this movie. As dazzling as the first dream hallucinatory whatever sequence was, the blocking with the camera movement and the dance and everything, the mirrors, as dazzling and impressive as it was in the filmmaking, there was a little bit of me that was like, oh, is this going to be this whole movie? Where she's just like, we're going back and forth between these two women in reflections and stuff.
Or the opposite, where the plot ruins it, where the plot gets in the way, and it was like, okay, that was just to set up this plot point, and it's just a murder mystery or something. Yeah.
But I do think that it's not a downfall. I really did enjoy this, but I think you made a really good point. Because we got to stick with Anya Taylor-Joy so much through her perspective as the protagonist going through those things, and the only reaction that we often felt from Thomasin McKenzie was a reaction, a fearful, victimized reaction to what was happening to her. I don't really think we got to see her live through Anya Taylor-Joy very much. Now, I guarantee you they thought about that a lot, and they made this choice, and they decided to go with this. But I think you made a good point. There may have been some opportunities that they chose not to take advantage of, or they, very, very consciously said, fuck it, we're not going to do that. We're going to stick with Anya, where they could have maybe let us see what it was like for Thomasin to live it, as opposed to only living the really scary moments. They would let us in when she was totally too victimized, too scary, knives, guys coming after her. Like, they let us in there for the horror. They didn't really let us in there for the emotional shift between how does it feel to want to have a dream and to fail at it. Yeah. They didn't let us live that with her.
Yeah, just to finish up, I agree, because I do think that I agree. Yes, you're 100% right. But the times we saw her in the present time, where she was confident with the blonde, she seemed foreign. So I'm thinking about this for my rewatch, where I'm like, okay, she's confident, but within 10 seconds of seeing this confident new person, there's a conflict. The plot gets in the way of it. You know what I mean? So I don't really get to see her walk into the fashion studio and just be like, this is who I am now, and blah, 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 blah. Enough. But maybe that was just me. Dave, what do you think? I didn't mean to cut you out of this conversation.
No, I was enjoying this conversation. I feel like they did the due diligence there. Like, she changed herself to be more confident, but there were still obstacles. Like, because you can't have someone win in the first 20 minutes of your movie. Like, she gains ground, she gets knocked back. She tries to gain some more ground, she gets knocked back. It's a constant battle for her to maintain that personality and to maintain that confidence.
Bam.
That's true, dude.
That was it.
And even if you were to agree with us, I know all three of us would still say, I may forget what I said in the beginning. I'm going to rewatch this. This was a very effective,
I'm gonna watch this a few
scary, disturbing movie that I've never seen anything like it.
Still clenching.
Honestly,
buttholes still clenched.
Really, I was not anticipating how affected I was by this film. It's like, damn it, Edgar, you scared me, dude.
I got a couple of really good anecdotes as we probably come out of this. I don't know whether you saw on Twitter, but there was a tweet to Edgar Wright saying, went to the movies with my dad, and he really enjoyed your film. And here's a photo, and it was Dario Argento's son.
Oh, shit.
Tweeting him a congratulations on behalf of his father.
Oh, man.
And Edgar turned into a total fanboy and melted on Twitter. It was great. Also, did anyone? I read a lot of like interviews regarding this after I saw it. Did you see the Quentin Tarantino connection? Basically, the whole thing, the reason this film was made was because Edgar was over in LA when Tarantino was filming Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he saw Tarantino block off like Sunset Boulevard and just film on it. And he was like, holy shit, it can be done. And literally went back and was like, we need to block off streets in Soho.
Quentin did it.
Yeah, it was I don't know if a conversation took place or what, but like the fact that he saw Tarantino do it in the US, he brought that back and he's like, yeah, we can do this. And he got the permits. Some of the permits had to be organized like 5 months in advance because they were blocking major streets.
So funny, in New York City, they just fucking close the street without telling me, and nobody.
Just the shit show of trying to film in Soho. I cannot imagine how difficult it was to make this movie. I mean, those streets. No,
he learned that apparently sometimes you can just do it. Like
it's just, I really cannot imagine it. It is like when they shut down the Times Square area in New York. It's just there's people there all the time.
They don't do that anymore because apparently one of the Spider-Man movies built a perfect replica just outside New York. On a studio lot. Yeah.
And like Birdman didn't shut down.
Birdman didn't shut down, but he did a really cool thing.
They just used it, right? Yeah.
They had real hecklers.
He actually hired a student band that he'd seen to come out and set up in the corner of Times Square and fucking play and distract everybody, and then they ran the scene.
That's such a good idea. So Iñárritu, you genius. I would love, I would kill to see the first AD's schedule for how they shot on the main streets of Soho. How the fuck did they schedule that, and how long did it take?
Right.
How many weeks were they actually there?
I think it was like
crazy.
3 a.m. Or something they were shooting. So it was all like 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. because that's when Soho dies, basically, goes to sleep.
Does anyone else, this is super fucked up, but did anyone else want to just go have a drink in Soho after?
Yes. My God. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. That's happening at some point. I'm going. I want to go because when I've been in London once and I did not get there.
It's really fun. It is a cool place. I can't wait to go back. I think it'll mean more now that I've seen this. He worked his magic. Go see this movie, folks.
Go
see it.
Just similar. If you want a similar mood, very different was It's a Sin, which is about the gay experience in the 80s during the AIDS crisis. So obviously it's very different. Obviously it's very different than this. But one thing that would have been cool for this movie, to exactly what you said, John, which could have never fit in this movie, was that so it's the gay scene, but they all see each other out at the pub. That's the main connection. There's like a couple friends groups that all intersect because they all go out together, because all of the gay people in London in 81, they all know each other because it's a small group of people who, made the commitment to live an open lifestyle that their families at home never would have let them. And they went out to the pubs, and some of them reminded me of the main pub in this, where they go to the basement and they could kind of be isolated, and it's small, but nobody's watching them.
The Toucan.
So it reminded me of that. One. Yeah. So if you want to just spend some time in bars, very heavy, very different show, but yeah. Anyway. All right. I don't think this is opened in the UK. I just looked at Box Office Mojo.
Oh no, it's out in the UK. There's been people talking about going to screenings.
Because they haven't
Edgar Wright's done a couple
yet.
He's done a couple of personal appearances at screenings.
All right, they haven't released any numbers yet, so it's doing really bad so far in America and Colombia. But hopefully in the UK, it's doing better.
Yeah, once everyone hears this episode, they'll flock to it.
Yeah. Don't worry about the Halloween is past. This was the Halloween movie this year. This was the scary movie. You should go see this movie. It was really fun.
All right. Well, with that, friends, it is time to offer our recommendations with a quick round of what you've been watching. Dave, we know what you're watching next week, Eternals. Maybe you're going to rewatch...
Dude, have you seen Eternals got fucking review bombed like shit? Like, it's rotten on Rotten Tomatoes already, and it hasn't even come out yet because apparently there's a gay kiss scene in it. So everyone decided, and IMDb in a rare
there's two guys in this movie.
In a rare turn of form, IMDb shut down their review system for this movie and wiped everything, and they're no one can review it.
Are you saying there was a gay kiss in a Marvel movie and people hated that? That seems wrong.
We all know who hated that. Let's not mince words. It's basically they decided to just.
If you participated in a Gamegate or Gamergate, then you probably are the asshole that commented negatively on the gay kiss scene
Wait,
in
is it?
Eternals. Go
Please tell
fuck
me.
yourself.
Please tell me it's
Go
Richard.
fuck
Please tell me
yourself.
it's Richard Madden and
I
Kit
don't know.
Harington.
I don't
Come
know,
on,
but
so
I know that there's
Fiction.
definite representation in this movie, and yes, apparently it got out, and they hit the review bomb, and like got it down to 1 star on IMDb before it even got released, and it's rotten on Rotten Tomatoes.
Jesus
and it hasn't
Christ,
even come
fuck
out yet.
you,
So,
people.
Oh, boy.
like, yeah, fuck you guys.
Rotten Tomatoes
stop
is-
doing that shit because nobody cares.
Nobody
We're all
cares
going to
about
see
them,
it. You've accomplished nothing, you dumb fucks.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm reading.
yeah.
I'm reading a positive review now that says Eternals is a bad movie, and it's a positive review. So,
Yeah, I'm-
Well, let's
Well, I'm
at least
glad-
let's
I'm
at least
glad
give it
that-
a bad review for the right reasons.
Yeah,
Yeah,
If we're gonna
yeah.
hate
Come
it.
on. But
Chloe, come on, Chloe.
Aside from that, I this week I watched the new season of Lock and Key
Jesus.
on Netflix. They dropped it. We watched the whole thing in like a day, 2 days, basically. It's fun. It's good fun. It's based on the graphic novel by Joe Hill, which you may or may not know is Stephen King's son.
Yeah.
They actually have there's one episode of book of the graphic novel where they do a Sandman crossover as well. So
Oh, shit.
yeah,
Nice.
I can only imagine that's coming in like season 6 or something. But yeah, season
this
2
the
of Lock and
first
Key.
season?
No, there's 2
That's
seasons
season
out
2?
now. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's already been
I haven't
greenlit
seen
for a
it.
third. So it's worth a watch. It's good fun. They do not mess around with the villains in this one.
Man,
Wow.
my
Shit.
my Halloween watch this year was a throwback to 1975's Jaws. Don't know if you've ever heard of that movie
heard of it.
before.
Yeah.
It's a little movie about a shark.
still
but
looks
that was
fake.
fun. Pretty cool to go back and watch that kind of film. It's still very effective. That movie's good. Really fun. Jeff, I think you and I watched it several years ago, but it's on Netflix if you want to check it out again, folks.
I watch it a bunch when I go to Cape Cod, of course.
Yeah.
Well,
Nice, dude.
from where I
The reason I watched it is because apparently Cape Cod right now, I just listened
Yeah.
to a big the Sunday read on the Daily. Apparently there are more white sharks,
Mm-hmm.
great white sharks, in Cape Cod now than like ever in
Yeah.
ever in our lifetime because we can't kill seals anymore. So there's tons of fucking white
Guys,
sharks there.
Wait, no, okay, this is important.
Not saying we should kill seals, but this is what's
There's
happening.
an app in Cape Cod called Sharktivity. Activity for sharks, and there are a ton all the time. They have cameras on all of the buoys that are out, like the shipping buoys, and so you have pictures of these sharks, so you can see
So it's
literally
it's like
yesterday,
Citizen for
the
sharks, basically.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Now I'm on the
Dude, I
base,
had that app on my phone for 30 seconds. I was like, fuck this
fuck,
shit.
yeah.
Get rid of it.
especially
Yeah.
oh my god, I had that in Astoria too. So in the bay goes out so far that the sharks are pretty much harmless because it's so shallow because of the tide and shit. But out in the ocean, there's a lot. Oh fuck! Wait, I lost. Wait, we were talking about the sharks and the white
Jaws,
sharks. Jaws,
white
the white
sharks.
sharks coming. Oh,
The count.
I went on a chartered boat to go fishing out in the ocean, and these motherfucking seals are everywhere because what happens is people coming back. You know how anybody who's ever been deep sea fishing out in the ocean, on the way back, they chop the tails off and they take the bone out so that the customers can leave with basically like grill ready fish as opposed to the whole fish. So the seals are just there in the bay waiting for all of these people to send, and they follow the boats. So I'm actually surprised there aren't more sharks because we feed the seals. We're begging the seals to be there.
Wow.
So they're just we're just catnip. So of course I'm
Wow.
not surprised at all. So anyway, that's that. Okay,
I'll tell you, when I saw Jaws, I didn't even see Jaws. I was 12 and I was watching TV in Australia, and the making of Jaws came on.
just incredible.
Oh,
Yeah,
And they showed the clip where the boat tips and the guy's sliding down, the sharks just chomp, 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 chomp up the guy. Did not go in the fucking water for 6 months.
Yeah,
Ruined
that scene
me.
got me again, dude. That
Ruined
scene
me.
fucked me up again. Me too. Me too.
I watched a really bad movie that I'm not going to promote. I'm catching up on Succession, sort of, so I'm going very slow. I'll have my thoughts in a week or two by the time I'm finally caught up. After watching last night in Soho, and I don't know why I was like feeling kind of emotional. I don't know why it was like getting me, and I was like, I want something like that. So I watched Captain Fantastic, which is the Viggo Mortensen movie from a couple years ago. And
What'd you think, man?
Holy shit, that really got me. It really
Yeah,
got me.
it's really good, right?
The way he
I
made
don't know if people saw that movie. That was really good.
I did not see that coming. This is really good.
I knew I would like
Yeah.
Vigo, but I really didn't know what it was going to be. and it was exactly what I was hoping it would be, and it was really great. I'm really, really happy I saw it.
Good. Oh, nice, dude. I'm glad you liked
It
it.
was on Netflix, and yeah, there you go. All right, people, Eternals next week. Hopefully we can prop it up better than some of these critics. So if you love your Marvel movies, we got our resident Marvel lover, Dave, here is going to help prop this movie up with us. Grab a beer, and we'll see you in a week. Thank you so much, film fans.